Welcome back to the Arbitrage Run show with your host Donkey Teeth and Kevin from Arbitrage Racing. What's happening, Kevin?
What's up, Donkey? Your background's looking good. You got a new setup there?
You know I do. Yeah, I got a green screen, man. I don't know. It looks a little bit better. We'll see. I don't think my wife is too crazy about this massive green screen I've got. I record in the bedroom, but yeah, it works for me.
You can use it for other things as well. It's fine.
Kevin, we've got another special show. We're on a roll with these guests. We've had like all the best guests in ZED over the past month, and another one here. So I guess we should start off the bat by saying we're recording this on Thursday evening in the U.S. It's February 16th. So Kevin and I were off next week. Kevin's going to be getting married next weekend. Congratulations, Kevin. So we're recording this in advance. We're going to release it like Monday or Tuesday of next week. So in case any of this stuff sounds like a little bit outdated, that would be why. But yeah, we got an awesome guest. Let me go ahead and bring him on. He's the owner of ZLead, Stack Nax. Self-proclaimed guy who takes every tool from everybody else and steals it. International man of mystery, Danshan. What's happening, Dan?
Hey, what's going on, fellas?
What's up, Dan?
You guys hear about any new tools, good new tools out there? Please let me know so I can get their shit as fast as possible.
Good time to buy.
Have you heard of ZSIM?
I already stole that one too. I got the MC stuff working already.
Thanks for coming on, Dan. We've been talking about it for a few weeks now, at least. And Kevin was just on your show last week, and that was awesome. So it's good to have you on and follow up on any of that stuff. And we want to dive in a little bit on the super breeds because it's fresh for us. They were just all kind of unboxed. I think 9 of them just got unboxed. So I actually had Kevin and Dan put together some rankings of these 11 super breeds that currently have been ranked. So we're going to go through those rankings, but off of the bat, Dan, we want to talk about this big ZED announcement that was just released for us about 24 hours ago. The people that are listening to this, it'll be a few days ago now. But it's about this treasury allocation. You guys saw it, I'm sure. There's a lot in here to unpack, to be honest. And I'm not sure that at least at this point, if the community has digested everything in this announcement here. But Dan, I want to kick it over to you first. And, just like open forum here for you to say what your thoughts were as you read through this. What were your big takeaways?
I think the biggest thing, the most important thing or positive thing for me was the idea that it felt like maybe they're finally starting to focus a little bit more on sustainability instead of just kind of fly by the night, whatever the hell we do 20 grand here, 10 grand here. Oh yeah. What do we spend? Okay. I mean, it kind of feels like they're maybe trying to balance the ship a little bit and create some sort of, sustainability down the road by just having, not saying the numbers are all that, but just more the consciousness of, hey, we're in this to make money. Right? I think that's one of the biggest takeaways I got from it.
Yeah. So that first line there, it says that 100% of the treasury portion of the stud farm funds is now going to be redistributed into prize pools, which will primarily be biweekly maidens now. So if you can read between the lines here, Kevin, I think they're saying that there's not going to be, at least for the time being, any more daily or weekly tournaments, right? It's just going to be maidens.
Yeah, I think that's how I read it, at least. I mean, it feels like they kind of not secretly took that away, but they highlighted a bunch of other things and then packaged that in a way that was a little more positive around like, we're just going to use all the funds for maidens because that's where the money's coming from anyways, which is, I mean, is a smart, more sustainable way to use those funds. But it is a little disappointing, like in this weird like limbo period before we get sit and goes or anything incentivized there. I mean, it's going to be just XP grinding, I guess, for paid races with the proven horses.
And maidens, I think, I guess from a business perspective, Dan, it makes sense. Like that's the only way that they're making money right now is people breeding. So throw all the incentives there on breeding, huh, Dan?
Well, I think when you think of like this whole picture and vision that Facundo kind of puts out, it kind of sounds like we need to kind of get in the pattern of kind of regularly breeding now, right? We don't just get our army of good horses and maybe just go buy a few on Haku or whatever and have our solid stable. It sounds like horses kind of transition a little more So I think almost everyone's going to be a little bit more focused on breeding. And I think bringing that to the front is probably a great thing.
Yeah, it kind of feels like they're distracting us or like keeping us just lightly entertained while they get aging rolled out and sit and goes going, right? Like the whole system we talked about last week makes more sense when you have more movement across the classes. You have segments that actually segment like quickly, and that would stimulate 3.0 breeding. Because right now there's no point to breed outside of maidens. And then maybe they announced here as well, like 3.0 only conditionals. But really until they get more movement around leveling, even the 3.0s are going to be skewed more towards 3.0s that were bred 2 months ago and have had time to grind up. So it is kind of like just hang with us for another month and a half or whatever they said, end of Q1 for sit and goes and aging, because then it'll be a totally different game at that point. And then it'll be a totally different game in 4 to 6 months when aging is actually like taking effect totally.
Right. And so you mentioned, Kevin, sit and goes were part of that announcement. They're going to be here by the end of the quarter, it said. Facundo kind of said the same thing on the last show with us. And then there's also something in there. I guess we should say that. So they did acknowledge that there's 1.3 million in the treasury, which is just the prize pool treasury, according to BG. This is not like all the money that Zed has. So this is just the prize pool treasury. 1.3 million is going to be that currently in there is going to be allocated to future flagship events as they focus on strong onboarding and a marketing push in the first half of 2023. Dan, blind speculation here. What does that mean to you?
Well, on the sit and goes first, though, I wanted to touch a little bit. Doesn't this seem like a real kick hard to the jockeys, right? Like people have really been building these jockey things up, with the direct lending and doing this other stuff. And these sit and goes feel like they're just going to what do you need a jockey for if you can just click enter and your horse is scheduled for the next week?
Yeah, I think that's one that'll make more sense once the XP market opens up and you see like, okay, you can still grind freeze or pays and like accumulate XP and be able to sell portions of that, because the XP you're going to get in sit and goes probably isn't super material in terms of actually making your horse better, unless they juice them. I guess they might, but the fact that you could have a jockey and accumulate XP you could sell, I think would be an added incentive, but you're just kind of in a weird spot before that rolls out. If it doesn't roll out at the same time as sit and goes, where you're exactly right, like jockeys are going to be kind of sitting on their hands for a bit.
Well, yeah, because like the jockeys aren't going to really be able to do anything. And, the plan for jockeys in the future, right? Like we kind of, at least how I see it, I assume you probably agree with me. Jockeys are basically just going to grind the horses that we think are worth grinding for us. We're going to basically pay them for it. And then we're going to take those juicy horses and use them where we think they're effective and can make us money, right?
Yeah, kind of doing the dirty work with, like to be frank, and like getting them kind of show ready or tournament ready.
Yeah, totally. They're going to be like the back scene, and then we're just going to be the cute guys that are actually in the tourneys.
I think the missing piece here is like we don't know what the XP is going to look like in these sit and goes, right? And if it's like current tournaments when they run, then I think that's true. But like when I think about our stable, Kevin, I heard a lot of people saying this, that the sit and goes kind of kill jockeys, but we have a ton of horses that we're still not going to have time to run if there's volume going on, which hopefully sit and goes create, right? And start to fatigue the top tier of horses. Like we have a ton of horses that we're not going to have time to run that we'll be happy if it makes sense, right? If there's the fields are soft enough that they're profitable or the XP is right? We're going to lend them out, right?
Yeah. And you hope they do something with stamina. Hopefully that rollout comes out around the same time where there's not this many races where you can just run your beasts kind of infinitely until the age. So you hope that comes around the same time, which would make the depth more relevant and would bring some utility back to the jockeys in that environment. You're right.
Yeah. And I don't know, Dan, like how these sit and goes are going to look. If it's like you said, where there's just like all of these sit and goes available and we can join 100 of them, I feel like it's probably not going to be like that just based on how the lobby works right now. It seems like they're kind of constricted, which hopefully opens up, but you know what I mean, Dan?
Yeah, I think they're just going to be just like we've seen. I think it's basically just going to be a fib daily, and it's just a sit and go that whoever wants to pay the $5 can join. And I don't know. They might run 5 races as a qualifier for you. I think it's basically going to be the dailies, just in an automated fashion.
Yeah, makes sense. So Dan, back to my question on this 1.3 million treasury allocation that is getting allocated to these future flagship events for the strong onboarding push. Like, what's your guess at what that means?
That means we have no idea what we're going to do with it yet.
Agree, Kevin?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've learned from their mistakes in the past. Like, you just give us bits of information, be as general as you can, and then we can't point at you and yell at you when things go different.
Makes sense.
But these sit and goes, they can't be that same thing, right? Can they really? Like, can they really just? I mean, I'm asking as a player, right? Can they just really, literally, just put daily fibs 12, 20, 12, 18, 24? Semifinal, quarterfinal, final. Can it really be just that again? Just the only difference is we're not clicking.
I think that will definitely be a part of it. I hope they have like creative segmentation along with it, where they're like, all right, this time it's going to be 3.0 only. Obviously, will be one, or you could have like super rares only, green colors only, and like actually start utilizing some of that stuff that just like randomly distributes horses, right? Like anything like that would be kind of new and more random and fun.
Yeah, I mean, kind of like what Dan, you're doing over there on ZLead, right? With your tournaments.
I mean, I spent like so much time thinking of new ideas. There's madness. There's this. There's 357. There's 426. I mean, it just feels like the only shot you have of getting people to send the $5 is to give them something fresh. I mean, you got to admit this. These guys are running paid races, and not everybody's breaking even, but they're getting pretty close, right? Even in these double ups, these cheap double ups, they're not spending a ton of money to get in these tourneys. And so that's kind of a free product they're getting, right? It's a free shot at some cash. Not completely, but you kind of feel me on that. But it's kind of a free product. And now they're saying, hey, guess what? It's a $5 cover. And when you're charging people a $5 cover, I'll tell you what, they expect a whole different ball game. This shit of, oh yeah, it broke. Okay, submit a ticket. We'll get back to you in 3 weeks. That ain't gonna cut it. It ain't gonna cut it. It just won't cut it. Paid and free are completely different things. If someone's throwing free t-shirts into the crowd, you'll jump up and grab any t-shirt. If you gotta walk up to the counter and pay $5, whole different ball game.
Well, Dan, I think that, I mean, I'm glad we have you on for this show, because I think something that you've been talking about with all like these different fun things and a lot of the stuff that you're doing with your ZLead tournaments, I think Zed is handcuffed on a lot of that. So I don't expect that it's going to be like all of these different crazy options, at least out of the bat, because like, even if you think about them just creating like a double up tournament, right? And 6 horses advance and they pay out the top 6, and then the next round 6 advance and they pay out the top 6, and so on. And then the final one, the top 6 get paid, kind of a thing. Like, all of that has to happen automatically, right? So like your tournaments, Dan, like the money gets, and I don't know exactly how this works. Maybe you can give some clarity on it, but we sign up and there's a wallet address that we have to send the funds to, right? And then like after the tournament, is that manual on your end that you're sending these payments out, or do you have automation? Because the way I understand it, Zed is going to have this all built into a smart contract, right? And it happens and everything gets sent out, right? Which is a little bit trickier than your stuff, I think, right?
No. You enter one of my tournaments, you pay $5. My software checks the API the API to see if you paid. It confirms your payment, marks you as paid. You run your races, it checks the API to get your scores. It ranks people according to how they did. At the end of the tournament, it totals them out and it pays out who's supposed to win.
Oh, it automatically pays out.
Yeah, unless it's some like completely freak tournament that I'm doing myself that's completely off the charts of not normal. But if it's winner take all or double up or top 3 or any of the standard formats, let's call them, all automated. I don't touch anything.
Gotcha. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've always kind of assumed that you had a lot of manual work on the back end. It's good to hear that you don't, because that would be kind of a nightmare, right?
I mean, can you imagine like some of these tournaments I have like, where I'll have like a $3 entry fee and there's 200 people that enter and they're double ups. I would have to send out 100 payments.
Yeah. Well, and I guess, sorry.
You must have a hell of a developer. You got a guy, Dan?
I got a guy that's really good, but the thing is there's a completely, it's not fair to say that I'm better or quicker or better at that because it's a completely different process. My audits of my contracts are me.
Mm-hmm.
They don't have to go through a board. They don't have to go to the audit company. The smart contracts don't have to be reviewed. It doesn't take 15 days for any change you make to one letter in the smart contract to be reviewed single time you do it. Completely different process. I'm not saying it's right or wrong. Theirs is probably safer, better. I'm probably losing money somewhere once in a while that they probably wouldn't have that problem. But it's completely it's not fair to compare the two.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And even with your process, like you said, like you have it automated for your ones that are structured out that you run all the time. And then when you do some kooky stuff, you got to do it manually, right? So I guess it's probably going to be the same with ZED, right? They're going to have 4 or 5 different formats, hopefully off of the bat that they're able to manage, something like that, Dan?
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of sad if it's the truth, right? I think that people are going to be, I'm just saying this, and I'll still stick by this. You're going to see a massive drop. Every dollar that I add to the entry fee is an instant drop in the number of people that enter my tournaments, period. If you ran the same format and you add $1, you can cut, I don't know the exact number, but you can cut probably 15% of entrance down. You add another $1, add another $1. And then once you get to a certain point, you get to where you're down to 5 or 6 people. I could probably tell you who's going to enter certain events because I just know how much it is. It's the same thing that goes here. If Zed's going to charge people an entry fee, they're going to have to produce more than what they're doing now at a way higher level.
I think one of the interesting things they can do here, Kevin, is overlay these sit and goes, right? I mean, that automatically kind of gets them a little bit of leeway if there's some free money involved in them. And I guess that's the first thing I think of.
Yeah, I mean, you could do it. Yeah, overlay the higher dollar. It sounds like is what Dan was saying. I think that would incentivize people playing up, so you're not racing a beast in a $1 or whatever just because they're bored. So yeah, I agree. Hopefully, there's a little more spice to it. And if there's not early on, I mean, they're always evolving. So I'm sure people will hop on Twitter, hop on Discord, and let them know if it's not up to standard.
Oh, will they? They'll let them know.
As always.
But there's some massive segmentation right now, too. And I think it's really hard to set up tournaments that even can reach enough people, right? Either you got 150,000 horses that want to enter, or you got 2. It's really the segmentation here is really tough now. It used to be a lot easier. It is way tougher to segment now. On the tournament side.
Mm-hmm.
I think another thing that you've mentioned a lot before, Dan, is just having these random surprise lotto things incorporated in it, where you join a sit and go, and it doesn't say that it's going to be overlaid, and then suddenly it's double prize pool for this one jackpot, and you just don't know until you're in it and it fills, kind of a thing. That would be huge.
Oh my God, you could do a literal $5 entry, and the jackpot could be anything. Literally a mystery box. That would be so exciting and fun. Who doesn't join that? The FOMO on that is it's you can't not join, right? If you don't know what it's going to pay out.
Right, a Z1.
Yeah, it could be anything, right?
Yeah.
And think about it. There's so much energy and excitement in mystery. If you just put this is guaranteed to pay the entry fees back, right? At least. We're going to pay the entry fees back, but it's a mystery. It could have an extra $5,000, $1,000, $1,500, whatever. And the other thing too is that people really overplay this money game. I spend a lot of money on horses, and I'm not interested in making $4. But you would be pretty much surprised to see how many people think that $150 prize pool is worth it, totally worth it. It means a lot to a lot of people. It's not. $150 to me is not a whole bunch of money. I'm not rich. I'm just saying it, the level of the game I play, $150 doesn't mean a ton to me. But for a lot of people, that's a fun, interesting, exciting prize pool.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think a lot of it is a reflection of your experience in the NFT world. If you came in during the boom and it was just there's money flying everywhere, it kind of desensitized you to the $150 prize pools, which isn't necessarily a good thing, right, Kevin?
Yeah, and part of it depends on like the horse you're running to get that prize pool, right? Like if it's a like Z50 plus tournament that costs you $20 to make, and you can run these tournaments, then like $100 win feels like the lottery. Whereas if it's like a Z1 tournament, you win $150 or $100, it doesn't feel nearly as significant. So a lot of it is that like return on investment piece that, yeah, the people, I feel like when you have those lower lottery ticket type things, it just feels more meaningful than if you have like oh great, I got a 0.1% dividend on my Z1. That's great.
Right.
Are they going to be capped? Is it going to be like first 384 that enter?
Should be, right? And then just pop a new one.
You think it's going to work like that? Kind of like a race, kind of like race lobby works?
I think so, but I don't think it'll be that big. Like, I don't think they want to risk having them that big and not fill, especially they're going to be by class, right? And yeah, I think they'll start smaller.
So like first 64 in class 4, sprints, Fibonacci.
Yeah, and see what kind of demand there is. I mean, everything in ZED, right? Like everybody gets
that would
hyped.
be amazing, first of all, right? That'd be freaking amazing. I mean, just imagine like you could just, I mean, it's what we've always talked about, right, Casey? I mean, it's the same thing of this kind of a lobby to where you can just like do what you want to do. Instead of them telling you what to do, you can choose what you want to do.
Yep.
Well, even more so, Dan, to your point of having all of these different options and stuff like that, I question whether they're going to spend the time to do that out of the bat versus because the vision, as Facundo keeps reiterating, is they create this system and this platform, and then they step back, and it's on us as a community to create what it is we want. And they issue or sell, or you win NFTs to have your own track and have the 1,000 meter sit and go and have the double up sit and go and all of this different crazy stuff where you can create your own. I don't know that that's going to be in version 1 is kind of what I'm thinking, but it sounds awesome, doesn't it, Dan?
Oh, I mean, it's the vision, right? Like I want to come to ZED. I want to play. I want to play what I want to play. Today, I want to race in paid races with my X horses, and I want to be able to look at a lobby and say, "Oh, that looks cool! 64 horse, $5 entry. Oh, that looks cool! A sprint. I can win a free skin if I don't qualify, or whatever. I just want to play something."
Agreed. By the way, tangent, those Valentine's Day skins look pretty sweet, don't they?
But that's exactly what I've always said, right? And always wanted was like, okay, just some random shit. Nobody knew they were getting that shit. Nobody.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing. And the thing with that is you can't announce that before. You got to announce it after, because then you create the fear of missing out. Like, oh shit, I could enter this tourney. Should I enter? No, maybe not. But if you know, hey, they might give out a skin that's a 1 in 100. You kind of almost have to enter. And that's what we want people to do, right? We want to force them to enter.
Yeah. And I love that they're keeping it limited. There's like 18 of them. That's kind of one of the fears that they create, this like inflationary skin market. I mean, it's going to happen, right? But if the user base grows enough, it's like, who cares? And these early skins will be super rare and worth a ton. But I love that they started out and it's 18 and you got that random aspect. I'm trying to figure out, Kevin, how we can get the bubble skin, the heartbreak one, because I think that one's pretty badass.
That's a good consolation, because I think you get it by having your heart broken on the track.
Yeah, the first one that's out.
Yeah.
Sorry, Dan, go ahead.
No, go ahead. Let's move on.
Well, yeah, so we spent a lot longer, but it's been a great discussion on this announcement that they've made. The one other thing that was in it that I wanted to mention was this like challenge aspect. They said there would be free and paid challenges like the Metaverse Cup challenges that we had, and there would be XP rewards and skins, which I'm sure that we're all on board with and is along the lines of everything that you've been calling for, Dan. So I don't know. You guys have any quick thoughts on that, or you want to move on to Super Breeds, Kevin?
Super Breeds. I want to hear his list so bad.
I'm going to tease you for a second, though. The one thing I want to see out of these tournaments, which I think early ZED, the community kind of bailed them out with making these like a spectacle, right? Like what was it called? It was like March Madness of a year and a half ago. No, it was the one with Sean Versal. who
The digital derby stuff?
Digital Derby.
Digital Derby. That was so sick. And that was like
Dude, Digital Derby changed my idea of what this freaking game was going to be. I thought it was going to be on like ESPN after watching that shit.
They peaked so early with that. And like part of it wasn't even Zed doing it, but like that just set the bar so high and like gave the potential for everybody watching this. Like it was an insane event. And like the capabilities they can build out to make it even smoother, there's no reason why they can't do that. And like they make it even bigger. So like I want to see that out of the like next phase of Zed as they start emphasizing these tournaments more. Because as soon as you do something like that and there actually feels like fame and glory, like winning something, just that's a whole new element. And then just like, all right, the same guys I always race against, I get like a little notification on my screen.
Casey, that comes with third-party content creators. Mm-hmm. If you give those tools to us and put them in our hands, guess what? We got to be better. They don't have the monopoly. If Zombie creates some badass site with some badass tournament that people love, I got to top him. Or else I don't have any entrants. And it creates this monopoly, you know, where everybody's got to have great tournaments. Everybody's got to have great leaderboards. Everybody's got to have great production. It sets the bar higher constantly, and it never stops growing.
Right. I think and I think that was the vision of the Digital Derby at the time. It's just the product wasn't ready for it. And that kind of goes back to what Facundo keeps saying. They're going to create that base and the sustainable ecosystem for us and hand the ball off to create Digital Derby type stuff. And there's going to be, you know, the vision, professional production teams coming in because there's such a massive user base in here. Hopefully, fingers crossed, right? And all of this money flowing and potentially sponsorship money coming in. And the production teams are going to be reaching out to Kevin from Arbitrage Racing and Danshan to, you know, make paid appearances on their professional productions. You know, that's the dream. That's where I see it heading.
Yeah, just to have this like growth, you know, this constant growth and battle to be better than the other tournament site.
Yeah. Yep. We're going to have 600-meter races at our track, so be ready for that.
Absolutely. I think 600 meters should be the max race you can have on a stream.
Yeah. I agree. Or we need some new animations that make it a little more entertaining.
Oh, totally.
Yeah.
Don't even go there. We'll spend 2 hours on that. Nobody will make it back to work.
We got to get the super breeds. I know you're dying.
Oh, yeah. Let's go.
Okay, we're going to have to move through these pretty quick, though. Our target is 45 minutes. So about 20 minutes here, we're going to try to get through 11 super breeds. So quick recaps of these horses, guys. So Dan, you've got your list of 11. We're going to start from number 11. We're going to start with Kevin's number 11 super breed here. Let me share my screen. And we've got our handy ZLead super breed page, which, by the way, Dan, is awesome. I pretty much go to that every single day. Where is it? ZLead. There we are. Yeah, thanks for creating this page.
I really love that page. It's fun.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
I live on this.
You ready? This is the one. I'm not sure how this is even a super breed. Okay.
We've got the same one. Yeah.
These dreams, is that yours too, Dan?
Nope. 527234.
These dreams. It opened in a new window. Okay.
It is like the coldest start I've seen of any horse of that kind of level. It's like Dan was saying, you kind of wonder if it just like forgot it was a super breed to start.
Yeah, I have notes for each one of these, and my notes on this one are, I'm not sure this is a super breed.
Well, I mean, if you look at the level, right? What was this? A Z69, nice, exclusive Buterin coming from, the parents weren't terrible, I suppose, but it was a level 99 on one side and 501 on the other side. Okay, so, but the expected outcome of this, Dan, I mean, what is it for? It was going to be a cross, right? An elite and exclusive. I think that would have kicked out a cross.
Oh yeah, this thing is class 6, 50 level horse all day long. I'm not saying it's not great for what it is. I'm just saying I'm not sure it should carry the same tag as the ones at number 1, 2, and 3 on my list.
It's like it's when I was analyzing it, it started so poorly in those 6 gates that you almost feel like it's got some variance that it's just like waiting to hit on the win side, because you don't see that asymmetric like type of performance very often. It typically will U a little bit unless it's just totally outmatched level wise, which it's really not in freeze. So there's a little hope in the variant side, but that's a horrible start for a super breed.
Is there any
you might be able to sell me on some hope for that horse, but it does not look like it's going somewhere to me. Do you think that's going to turn around? Give me a 200 race win rate.
I think if it keeps running, like if it ran those frees, it's in, right? And it has I don't know, what is that win rate? 8%. I do think the free win rate would turn to like, okay, I think the free would turn to like 12 to 13. I don't think it's gonna be a killer in those, but I do think it's running a little cold to start.
Yeah, and then plus, you got to be fair with the level, right? It's not like it came into class 1 at 570 and already had half of it lapsed. But still, this is number 11.
Yes. It's number 11. I think we could probably move on. Well, Kevin, what do you think this is? A variance super breed, or is there any distance preference with this horse?
It's so hard to analyze with those. That performance just makes it very
I love when people send me a complete A-shape horse and tell me, where did I run it? I'm like, straight to Hawk.
I think it's like a sprint mid, or it's just accidentally like a marathoner and it's just running wrong. But I had it like as a 1400 with a little bit of variance. I have no idea what the super thing is, because it doesn't seem, it's not stability. It can't be. It's
just so A-shaped. You can't tell where it belongs. But
I think these are 6 gates that it finished in the.
Yeah, it's just
right.
Total right.
Yeah, it's just pure right side, right?
Yeah, yeah. It's just a last place horse. Okay, let's keep moving, guys. Dan, who's your number 10 horse?
526-728.
526. This is just VIII. I guess that's Roman numerals. Number 8. Let's see it. Kevin, where did you have this one?
I had number 8.
Okay, so a little bit of discrepancy here. Dan, why'd you rank this one so low? 560 starting level.
That's the exact reason, actually, what you just said. For a 560 starting level, this thing just doesn't perform at the level that I would think it would be. And if you look at the average level, I mean, go through on ZLead, you can see the average level this thing is raced against. And it's just not performed well for the level it has compared to these average fields of 520.
I love that, by the way. That's such a good feature, too.
Yeah, it is.
Quick field analysis.
It does look like maybe it's gone on a little bit of a heater today, though, Dan. It's got 4 wins today. three wins in 2 seconds. 3 wins in 3 seconds today.
Well, I think he analyzed after me, so he's got an unfair advantage there.
Yeah,
I definitely.
But I mean, look at that. Just as a quick glance, though, to get a level of its competence, you can look at those average level of those fields, and and being 30 levels higher than your average horse that you're racing in, and that kind of performance doesn't put you number 10 on my list.
Yeah, I think I'm a little more optimistic because I see the level advantage, which to me gives a little more credit when it has that right skew a little bit, or that tail to the right. Gives me hope there's some variance there. But if you look at like 6s, there's a little bit skew to the right, which pops up that number 6. And then within 12s, it's got a little bit of right distribution as well. So I think there's a little variance possibility there. But yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm ranking it in my top half. I think it's a okay super breed.
It's a little better than I think it is.
Yeah, you can see the variance here on the 6 gates. There's 5 back end. Let's see the 12.
I'm a sucker for variance.
Yeah, we know that.
Blood.
Wow, yeah, that's a lot of back end here in the 12.
Isn't that crazy? Yeah, that's just like it's just like it doesn't, like when it wants to win, it wins in those, and then when not, it just finishes in the back half.
Well, that's just kind of like when I see a distro like that, I kind of feel like that's like false info, right? Like there's no such thing as a horse built like that.
Right.
So
that's
just need more data.
I view it as like the good runs haven't been very, like there's only been a couple, because even the good run with this kind of horse will come in like 4th. So it's been a bunch of bad runs and then 2 good runs. So it's probably due for some positive regression. Like you don't have a horse that has 80% right skew. It just doesn't happen.
I do, if you ever want to see a couple.
Okay, Kevin, who's your number 9 horse?
We'll do my number 10, right?
10,
I have my number 10 is Super Dud.
Super Dud.
This name looks like
Keith's horse. Well, we helped Keith with this name.
Or as Danshan would say, 524-573.
Super Dud was sold immediately after breeding. I think this was the 3rd super breed that came out, and it was sold for 1 ETH, and then Keith bought it for 2 ETH. So it's a 551. Thoughts here on this one, Kevin? Why'd you rank it so low?
I mean, my thoughts were like it's fine. It seems like a lower variance version of the horse we just looked at. So like in 6 gate freeze, it'll probably play a little better. It looks, I mean, that's an okay resume there. But yeah, it just seems like very meh, like a very relatively low starting level for a super breed. Not the best distance preference. It just seems like it got the stability super, which is okay. It's just not really my cup of tea and didn't stack up against the rest of these.
I ranked this one a lot higher, and one of the reasons I ranked this one higher is because I felt like it's missing everything else, so it must be hiding some serious DP in there, right?
So you'd be running it at 1,000?
I think so. I think it's first, I like the finish distro. Like if you start anywhere where it's starting to look that good, I love that. But the most important thing to me is just like, where is it? Like something, it's got that score, it's got that level from something, right? I'm not seeing a lot of speed. The median speed doesn't look great on it, or it doesn't look. So I'm thinking that like it has to come from DP, and I'm just thinking that DP is gonna scream out here somewhere.
Yeah.
And Kevin, you thought this was a stability super breed, didn't you?
I was thinking,
it has no variance. So if that means stability, then yeah.
Right.
I think watch it play out, and we'll see. I also think he's done a pretty good job racing it, where like there's been some good field sniping with this horse, to where I don't think he could have like a better start. Like you look at those averages, right? There's that stretch there where it was like 520, 518. That is hard to snipe that in Class 1 these days with people racing real horses in those. So it's some really good quality field selection propping this up a bit. I think.
Some window dressing here.
Yeah. But hey, that's a skill too. So especially in the maiden, like you got to do that to qualify the best you can. And I think when we were filming this is number one sprinter right now in the maiden qualifying.
Oh, is it? No, that's an interesting point, Kevin. Kind of a real quick tangent here, but that is, I get the frustration with not having maiden things, and we only have like 2 horses right now in Class 1 for the maiden, so we haven't felt it as much. But having that opportunity to find those softer fields is a little bit of skill versus just slamming all your horses into maiden races, right?
Yeah, I mean it is. I know it's kind of controversial, where it's like it is annoying at times when you're racing horses that have hundreds of wins in the same races you're trying to qualify. But it does, if you're willing to take the time, it's kind of the opposite of the like sit and go, right? If you sit there and grind and look at the fields and are quick with the finger when it gets to like 4 or 5 in there, there is an edge to be had.
Yeah.
I think you're talking about Stack Neck Pro.
Indirect plug right there.
This is brought to you by Stack Neck Pro. What's the going rate on Stack Neck Pro there, Dan?
Yeah, if you can't figure it out, it's on every single page. Every single thing.
Starting at $15 a month. Dan, what's your next horse?
Are we on number 9? Is that where I'm on? Or
I think you're on 9, yeah.
My number 9 is, and this is going to be a hard choice, and I think you guys might totally disagree with me, Master at Chance.
So this was the first one ever.
Yeah, and I know it's got this amazing level, but it's just, you know, I mean, obviously it's got no variance. It's totally a stability horse, and it should be doing a little better in double ups than it is if it's a super breed. So I mean, we're not looking for the same things here, right? Like we're not looking for a good U shape. We're not looking for the same stuff. But look at the double ups. Click double ups.
All right.
That is just not a pretty double up pattern. It really isn't. I mean, for this game and how tough double ups are now, that's not what they look like.
So you think this is a stability super breed, Dan?
Oh, it totally. I mean, this thing has like, variance is really low. And the only reason it's even doing anything at all is just because it's got so much level, right? So, but I don't. Where did you have this one?
I had it higher. I think this is an interesting one because it is like currently the highest level super breed at like 580. So I gave some weight to that in terms of just like where are the horses right now if I were ranking them. And like if we're doing like strength of schedule in terms of like analyzing these, this is probably the second best resume bullet for strength of schedule behind a horse we have ranked later. But it's a profitable paid runner right now. Like as much as you want to like hate on the double up shape, it's made 0.05 in double ups. A 13% ROI is not bad. So I mean, I had this one I think number 4 just because I don't know if many of the others would be a paid profitable runner right now at all.
Yeah, I just don't see like when you look at the whole picture of the horse, I just don't think I mean, like it just doesn't fit maybe it's more me, right? Like my personal taste.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the snapshot is higher than like the projectability of this, right? Like if we did the same exercise and said, rate these like when they get to 700, this thing would be close to the bottom, but it has such like a level advantage right now. And it's proven a little bit on the track with that level. So I gave it credit for that.
That's a good point. That's a good point. The ranking process. It sounds like maybe Dan was going with that process a little bit more, kind of projecting out like longer term value, right, Dan?
Yeah, I just think that, like, to me, when you say the word super breed and it's made less than its breed fee in 100 races,
170,
170 races, that's not a super breed. And especially at a 570 starting level, right? It's not like you had to come in here and grind 100 races to get here.
Mm-hmm. That's fair.
I guess the flip side to that is that it didn't have the opportunity to race any segmentation really at 573 starting level. So, which is what Kevin kind of alluded to with the strength of schedule. But
yeah, no, and he's totally right that this thing has faced beasts since the moment it came in in the game. But yeah, no.
Yeah, we would hope that super breeds that start with that high of a level can compete with them, but not that one. We'll see. We'll see as we keep going through these. So who's up next? Dan, I think. What's your next?
It's
next. Kevin. Yeah,
I have my number 9. My number 9 is Super Streak.
Super Streak.
What number is it?
It is 525190.
So this one started at 556. It's at 557 right now. It's another one of those Z8 legendaries. So it would have been an exclusive. It was an exclusive mare with a Genesis stud here in Hear No Evil, See No Evil. Dan, where'd you have this one ranked?
8.
So right around the same area. Kevin, what were your quick thoughts on this one?
Yeah, I think this one looks super similar to Super Dud. Maybe not quite as sprinty, but I think performance looks super similar, where it has maybe a little bit of right skew, but I think a lot of that's just randomness of fields and maybe being out leveled at times. So I don't think it's actual like true U-shaped variance. So I just have it as like a stable 1400 mid, where it like is racing about like you would expect a stable 555 horse to run.
The thing I didn't like about this one and kind of kicked it down for me was it ran in that quad at 560 and 566. And I haven't seen anything that screams out to me that this thing is like super variant, and it didn't flame in either one of those, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of what knocked this thing down for me, because when you look at it from the surface, it looks kind of cute. It looks like it might do great in quads, right?
Well, I think so. The quad is the 6-gate double up, right?
Yeah, it's the top 3 6-gate.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's why I ranked it definitively above Super Dud, because it did have that somewhat paid success, super small sample, but it won one of those like double ups for what it's worth, like a $25 551 575 double up, and it cashed in another, so it is profitable. Give it credit for that, but yeah, I don't love the projectability here, and the level is not great to be ranked higher right now.
My 7.
Yep, go ahead.
528054.
The newest one, Death Song.
Mainly because I'm not a big fan of Aiden. No, but I
spiteful ranking.
I felt like this thing just has no variance. It's got some DP. It has shown very little speed. It's raced 50 times. Hasn't made any money. It's got a good, decent paid win rate, but just I don't know. It to me just wasn't. It just looked kind of blah. And then plus, I'm always the marathon hater, right? Like, I don't think there's a lot of room for this thing. This thing doesn't look good enough to compete in marathon in C1.
Yeah, I have pretty much the same analysis. I ranked it a little higher. I think I had this one 6th, so like right in the middle of the 11. No variance really at all. Good distance preference. So it's going to be one of those horses, like if it's racing against horses who have a lower level, it's going to look good. If it races against horses that beat it on level, you're going to see that middle 6 to 8 type finish.
And do we think that this is a stability or distance preference, variance or distance preference, variance stability?
I'll be honest, I don't know enough to be able to tell the difference at this point. It's not variance, I'll tell you that.
Oh, that thing is flat as a rock.
Right. It's a mountain right there. But I would say stability just because I haven't seen like the exaggerated performance at 26. But I honestly haven't looked deep enough to know that definitively.
Yeah, it's really hard to tell on some of these. Kevin, what's your next one?
Let's see. My next. So we're going up to my number.
You're on 7.
So I had Jetty here. Started as a 552.
This is Netty's Super Breed Jetty. Starting
sale,
level
right?
552. It is for sale for 1.5 ETH. It's a Z25 Legendary Buterin. And this one came from 2 legendary parents. So it would have been an exclusive. It got boosted to legendary. What's your read on this one, Kevin?
So this is like getting to the tier. I think it was the top 7 where I like was intrigued to see these keep running and get more into pays because they all like show signs of something that is either like variants that might play well. Like this one has that 6th place rate is super intriguing, assuming those mostly came from 6 gates, which I think they do. That is like when you're talking variants, that's what you want to see. So anytime you see that, I think there's probably an argument it could be even higher. The performance hasn't really shown it too much in terms of win rate and ROI. But you got to salute the guy. He's been sending it in some paids, so I don't want to dock him too hard for that. But yeah, this is around the average for me.
I had this horse ranked 6th, and we kind of talked about this horse earlier, but I love the variance. I think the variance is going to be there. I just was a little bit not as impressed with the lack of speed, and it may just be some yucky runs, but I think the variance is there. I think this horse is going to be able to hit if it gets there. Mm-hmm. But again, quit calling them super breeds.
Well, they don't actually, and I think that's an interesting thing. After you race it, it doesn't say super breed anywhere on the site. It's only a super breed until you run.
It might be that might be a legit reason.
Yeah, Kevin, what do you think this thing is worth? 1.5 is not that bad for.
It is a price that you at least like think, well, hey, someone may buy that. It's not going to be me, but I wouldn't be shocked if we see that is sold. And like what I was thinking, especially if you're going to buy this horse anywhere near 1.5, you better buy this thing before the maiden runs because there's so much expected value baked into that 100K prize pool, like 20K plus to C1, where these super breeds just have such a level advantage of who they're going to be racing against, especially in the mid funnel, that you could make that back that same night. So do not pay that price after the maiden, but you could maybe rationalize it if you're just kind of overflowing pockets and want a good sweat.
You like to gamble. Yeah.
I think if, like you just said, I think that's a great way to look at it, right? Like if you get this thing right now, you might get that money back tomorrow or Sunday night.
Mm-hmm.
Now, and it's not a bad horse. I mean, it's a filly. It's a super breed. You can breed this thing with anything you want. It's got great starting level. I mean, breeding with a 560 or whatever this thing ended up being, 550 or something when it came
552,
out.
552.
There's a lot of upside there.
Yep.
Okay, next one. This is Dan. What's your next one?
I think I'm on number 7, but that was number 7, right? Or I'm on number 6. And I had Jetty number 6. So I'm probably on number 5 now.
Yep.
527,239.
7239. This is super fluid, starting level 561. Kevin, where'd you have this one?
Number 5. We are aligned.
5. Yep, same spot. Dan, what were your thoughts on this one?
This thing might be fucking crazy good. There's a possibility this thing might be really good. And it's just early, but I think there's a chance that this thing could be legit good.
Same read, Kevin?
Same read. It was a hard one to rank because I think it's probably the thinnest sample of the bunch. I think I had this one looking a lot like Jetty, but I think I just went with the level defaulting to that. But it looks like a similar type where it's got some variance upside, a solid level for a super breed. But yeah, there's a lot of unknowns with this horse with that only a 20 race sample.
And it's all at mid too.
I have my notes. Might be insane, but race some low level comp.
Yeah, good race selection here.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's hard to find any of these right now.
It's easier in the mid funnel, I'll say. The specialist ones, there's a lot of farmers there. But like the mid is kind of full of these U-shapers that you can find at a lower level.
I think these last few are going to be the ones that are going to be cute and interesting here, though, right?
We have 4 left.
What do you got, Kevin?
We have 3 left. Do we have 3 or 4 left?
I have 4 left.
Who haven't I said? My number 4 was Master of Chance. We already talked about that one.
Who's your 5? We just did your 5. Who was your
Fluid,
6?
Death Song was 6. Jetty 7. 8. Super Streak. Super Dud. These Dreams. I think
we haven't done Shiro, Diva's Dream, or Super Seed.
There's 3, right? Yeah. So,
well, Dan, who was your 4th?
524 573.
524 573. Super. Oh, so you had Super Dud, Dan. We already went over Super Dud. Yep.
Got some love for Super Dud. Keith will be happy to hear that.
I like it just because of the DP sprint. We were just talking about who wants to watch anything other than a sprint. So that got it probably 2 spots alone.
That is true. My number 3 is, these top 3 are all pretty much a toss up for me, but I went with Diva's Dream as my number 3.
So this one started at 569. Dan, where'd you have this one?
I have this one second.
Second, okay. Fireworks, guys. What's your analysis on this, Kevin?
So scroll down a little bit. I think this one came out of the gates super hot. I mean, it is like, it looks like that dominant marathoner. Like if you're racing against like better fields, like this is the shape like a Ready Set Boom type would have, right? It's got a little variance on the tail, just enough so like it's got some upside in the variance, but it also has really strong distance preference and some stability where it can knock out 44+% win rate against the right fields. So I think it is like absolutely perfect for this like maiden type tournament. Like of any of the horses I selected, if I had to pick one to win, and we'll see how this ages, like this would be the one I think I would pick to win the maiden for that. The one thing working against it is the maiden, I think, is at 2,200 for marathon, but it has that great combo of distance preference, some stability, and some variance to win against tough fields.
It only lost this one flame here, and this is a pretty strong field. Had Moolah lost a flame in that one too. Flick, Slow-Mo. These variance horses that are kind of taking over, right? Master Fade, Battalion was in there. Dan, did you have any other thoughts on this one?
My notes say it reminds me of a soft wavelength.
Yeah. See that? Same type deal. I mean, this is probably I didn't look too much at the parents, but this feels like of the bunch, the one that got the marathon distance preference super breed, if there is one.
Totally. I get that. I think
Wavelength's a great comp. I like that.
Dan, who is your number 3 then, if you had this one at 2?
Oh, you're going to love this. 523 601.
Oh, come on. Super Seed. Falling down the rankings. Why'd you rank this one number 3, Dan?
I think the thing here is a little disappointing from the beginning, right? Like this thing should have been a god. It looks like it's a normal breed with the level of parents that it has. I wouldn't be surprised if this was not a super breed and it looked the same. The thing is with this horse is it's got this, this great level. It's 200 races in with 17% win rate paid, right? Like that's killer. But I really, 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 really like that wavelengthy one. That's how I got it to 2. And then the She-Ra, of course.
Yep.
Well, let's you got any other thoughts on this one, Kevin, before we move on to the last one?
Yeah, you got to get some thoughts on this, whether it's yours or not.
This one, in my unbiased opinion, was my gold medalist at the moment. And like I try to be unbiased with this, right? It was totally between this and the She-Ra horse, I think is your number 1. The reason I stuck with this one was I think it has unique variants for a 3.0. I think it's the only horse of the bunch that can play right now in paids. And part of that's due to it being in the mid funnel. That's just more up for grabs with variants playing. But I don't think there's a single horse out there that can run the amount of paids against the type of fields this one has run against and be a 17% paid winner in a mixture of 12s and 6s. I think it's like 21% in 6K. It's profitable in both looks. I don't think Shiro, if you threw it out there right now in Marathon, it's more of a product of just Marathon being like really tough. But I would take this horse to be more profitable than Shiro.
And
I get that.
I think looking at Diva's Dream relative to Superseed, I mean, exactly what you're saying. Diva's Dream has been running against, these 520s and maybe 530s. Pretty good race selection, to be honest, for Diva's Dream here versus Superseed.
It's just it's total apples to oranges in the resumes. Like this is like 95% paid races against like $5 plus fields, right? And it's winning at 17%, flaming in a ton of these, right? Like it won that $100, which was probably some luck, but it flamed there as well. It's outflamed some good horses even at 12. It has the level advantage on a lot of these. If I were saying like a horse for a free tournament against where you can like snipe good fields, this is not the horse you would want. You would want Diva's Dream probably, but more than any of the horses. But if you want like a paid runner who can win in any kind of field, you want this horse or Dan's number one.
Dan, why did you rank Super Shiro at number one?
I think this horse has a potential to have more variance, maybe, than even Superseed.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that this horse has a little, maybe just a taste of some DP that could help it out a ton. And I think this horse has a ton of potential. I don't think this horse has proven shit yet, but I think it's got a ton of potential. I mean, it's had 8 races and hasn't won a paid, right? Like, I mean, I'm totally late on the idea that this thing is going to somehow be a miracle worker, and all this little resume here is saying, I have tons of variance, and I could just, Lord knows what's going to come out at the top end. And it's already showing some good speed, and the variance I've seen is really high, at least early.
Yeah, I think any horse, if I were saying like which one is the most exciting at 700, like this is number one for that. I just think with the marathon funnel, it's going to be a tough road there just due to the nature of it. But once again, like these are types of outcomes where that win rate in 6 gates, there's like bad no flames and there's good no flames. If you're no flaming and have a good sample like this does in marathon and are winning at like what's the win rate in 6 gate here? 30 whatever 3%, 38%. If you're doing that and not flaming, that's the sign of very true variance, because that means all of your podium equity is just win equity. So that is super promising for this thing leveled up.
Well, this is one of your favorite metrics, right, Kevin? Looking at these no flames, this is no flame 6 gate right here, 44% win rate.
I mean, that to me that thing just screams opportunity.
Absolutely. I mean, it is going to be the best horse at 700 of any Super Re we've seen. Unfortunately, it's a marathoner, which makes it a little tougher.
It looks like it's flaming at mids, though, doesn't it?
I think it's 20-ish.
The variance is it reminds you a ton of like, it doesn't have the variance of Festus, but that's the same type of idea where you've got a lot of variance in settled DP, where 2000 is still a marathon. It's 2 races away from 1600, so you get benefit of that, but you don't have a huge like distance preference beasts taking your flames. So it nerfs them a little bit. You can rely a little more on this, like clearly got the super variance breed with some distance preference. So that is where you see like 2022 is best for flames. Doesn't always mean it's the best for wins, though.
How do you know that it doesn't have Festus type variance? I mean, not many horses do, but still early, right? It looks pretty obscene.
It could. That's just mainly based off what I've ever seen in 3.0 and 2.0. Like nothing has come remotely close to that. So it would just be such an outlier if that's the case. But
these super breeds are supposed to be.
I vote that this thing. I vote that this thing has elite variance. Even in
1.0 type variance?
I don't think this don't call it top 1.0 type variance, but I would say it's going to be super top of the top of 3.0s guaranteed.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It's an alien with that. It might be like a flick of the lifetime type variance where it can win any field, but it does
anywhere,
have enough.
anytime. Yep.
Yeah, that might be the comp. If it's not, I still don't think it's out of the realm of possibility. It could be like, I don't know, I want more Festus, like just a little less than that, but like super huge marathoner.
No chance it's like vanilla bean variants?
I'd be shocked just because like, Vanilla Bean's been tearing up some C2 marathons, so possible, but that's almost more dramatic than Festus, and I want more. So I need to see it. I need to see more before I'm going to crown it with that. I think there's a lot of hope here. Not the best maybe for a maiden in free farming, just because you're going to self tank half the time. I would take Diva's Dreams over that for this event, but long term, give me this horse over Diva's Dreams.
If you gave me any horse to run the maiden with, I take Divas. If you gave me any horse that I got to hold on to and grind up, I take Super, She-Ra, whatever it is.
Yeah, it'll be fun to see. Like, I would bet we make more with Super Seed on the way to like 650 than they make with this horse on the way to 650. But who knows how they're going to segment. But then I think once it gets to like close to the level of those marathon beasts, this thing's just going to go like to the moon. So we'll see.
Well, this was fun, guys, looking through these rankings. Thanks for putting them together. Kevin, let's wrap it up with some thoughts on these super breeds. I think I'll start off. I think they're pretty disappointing. I was expecting at least like one level 600. I thought that these things were going to be better. But we did end with some strong ones here. What's your takeaway? Were you disappointed with the production of super breeds?
It's hard to not be like more disappointed with considering like as much as you can be getting a super breed. Like with ours, you would have thought that would be the one that starts quite high with some freaky variants. I do think looking at Shiro, like that is the one that gives you hope that maybe super breeds can contend with 1.0 type variants. My big takeaway is like super breeds come in all different shapes and sizes. Just because you get a super breed does not mean you've got a killer. You're definitely gonna have a level head start of what you would have. So it'll be great in these maiden type events, but they're going to be a wide range of outcomes with these super breeds. But definitely want to keep watching that Shiro because that's kind of the only hope right now for 1.0 type variants. The Diva's Dreams will be interesting to watch, see how it progresses alongside like the wavelength, like Dan said. But yeah, that's always how I'm gonna look at it. Like, what does this super breed remind me of from 1.0? And the more we are getting those 1.0 type super breeds, I think the healthier the game will be.
Dan, your final thoughts here?
I think the thing that's kind of, when we had the 1.0 lottos, it was cool to have great variants, to be the vanilla bean, that you could do whatever. It was cool to have this amazing DP. But are these super breeds ever going to come out where they got both? Are we going to see Diva's horse with Shira's variants? And like, we haven't seen any of that yet. Like, there's none of those in that list that kind of like have any sort of a combo, right? Like the combo's the dream, right? That's where you get the like these absolute just the ready set booms, right? These just killers that just got all the traits. and I don't see anything from these yet. But the other thing too is if you put these super breeds on a chart and you compare their variants, their median speed, and you remove the 1.0s and the 2.0s, they look like fucking super breeds. These things are monsters in comparison to their peers. If you put that Butte, whatever it was, the one we were talking shit about at the beginning, if you put it in a field of anything else that even came close to that kind of Z number, it would be stupid. Mm-hmm. It would just be like, I mean, you wouldn't even see it on the chart because it would just be one little tiny fucking dot on the very top.
Yeah, agreed. If you're looking at them just versus 3.0s, I think, Dan, to kind of answer your thought on if you'll ever get both, I think maybe that would come down the line if you breed two super breeds together and build super breed bloodlines out, and you can take that variance potentially and mix it in with distance preference. Maybe you need to get a super breed out of two super breeds or something like that. That would be the freaky thing.
Yeah, can you imagine like taking Divas and putting it with She-Ra and then getting this like a 22 killer with fucking this vanilla bean variants?
Yeah, that's gonna happen eventually. There's gonna be a super breed, right? Like we're getting 1 out of 400 rate. So
if they turn the volume up as high as they turned it up on the day before the maiden, we're gonna have one next week.
Oh man, but it's gonna happen, right? Like I would say within the next 4 to 6 months, there's going to be a super breed because just mathematically, if they keep popping out, when we get to 100, that means there's going to be a 1 in 4 chance every month. There's going to be a super breed, maybe more if they're male, right? Because you're getting 3 a month. It's going to happen more quicker than people think, and that will be just insane to see.
Yeah, well, I don't know about two super breed parents producing a super breed.
No. I meant like one of the parents being a super.
Right. Oh, both.
But like think about it though, like, you know, in my mind with the super breed thing too, though, is if you're using these butte exclusives or elites or whatever, you kind of have this broken garbage chain up even still, and we're still going to see ancestor pulls even from those super breeds. I want to see a Genesis super breed stud with a Genesis super breed baby, and there's like no holes in that bloodline, and then match those babies together.
Yeah. And I think that comes if the game scales to what they're, proposing 100,000 daily active users. There's going to be a lot more super breeds happening, and we're eventually going to see because like you get a super breed. I think we should be taking super seed to one of these other 10 people when it's time to breed and match them up, right? Why wouldn't you do 2 super breeds together, right?
Oh, you got to, right? Yeah. Like that's crazy not to. There's no way you can breed that with a non-super breed, right?
Exactly.
You're gonna go third head with it. I know what you're talking about.
I guess its third head is a super breed. So
it's like of this, I think like super fluid would be an interesting one to pair with, just because it's got a lot of variance and it's a.
I know you guys want to get out of here, but do you have any pairs you would make out of those that you would take from like the mix of the 11 that you like?
Super fluid, super seed. So Ripple, if you're listening, maybe we'll make something happen there. I wish we had pulled Colt. Like that would. I think the Colts have a good advantage there.
Yeah, because we can't do Super Shiro. Super Shiro would have been fun, right? If it wasn't.
Gosh, Super Shiro and RSB would have been just incredible.
Well, that can happen.
Yeah.
Super Shiro's a Philly. We just can't do it with Super Seed. So we'll have to talk to Begin Again Racing. I don't know Begin Again Racing. It's good to see a stable that I've never heard of.
Yeah, and that's kind of the good things on a lot of those. I don't know there's only like, I think there's 11 of them, and I probably know maybe four guys, 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, that's what we want. Disperse it out there. Any final thoughts here, Kevin?
No, I think we've exhausted it at this point.
Yeah,
we overshot, Dan. Always a pleasure.
We overshot.
Yeah, it was fun. Thanks, guys.
Dan, anything that you're working on right now that you want to talk about? What's going on over at ZLead and StackNext and all that?
Oh, we're just going crazy with Madness. We're going to keep Madness roaring. It feels like it never runs out of steam. People love Madness.
Awesome. Well, everybody go out there and check out the Madness. So you go over to StackNext and ZLead, and then there's links to all of Dan's tournaments. Let me just pull it up real quick. We've gone long, like we can go another minute since we've already gone 20 minutes long. So like right here on the Super Breed page that I love here, we got the tourneys over here, and you can just kind of click over, and this is where people would sign up for Madness, right, Dan?
Yep, totally.
You've got open Madness going on right now, so just any class, good to go.
Yeah, and you know what I'm going to do is a new Madness, dude. That's really cool. You pick 3 horses. Every stable picks 3 horses at the beginning, and you get a random distance every single round. You can't change horses. You got to use the same 3 horses in every round at every distance. And then whoever wins the podium advances. It's totally strategic.
I like that. Yeah, it's some good roster selection with that type of format.
Yeah, it's like you can't give up the podium. You got to get 2 out of 3 of the podium or you don't advance.
And the entry fee is 0.03, which is, what is that, like $50? Yeah. Cool. Well, everybody go check that out. Dan's got all kinds of great stuff going on over there. Everybody knows about ZLead, StackNext Pro, and everybody can follow you out on Twitter at Spot On Parts. I'm sure everybody's already following you that's listening to the show. Everybody can follow Kevin at Arbitrage Racing on Twitter. I'm at Zed Diamond Hands. We got a Twitch channel that we've started up. We're going to be back in probably a week after this. Maybe we'll get another live stream going. But if you guys want to subscribe to our Twitch, maybe we'll get you on the Twitch sometime in the near future, Dan.
Sounds great. But thanks for having me, guys. It was great.
Thanks for coming on, Dan. Talk soon.
See you, Dan.